arrested God. This is I preached a sermon on this several years ago because on the Palm Sunday, because I thought this was such a fascinating story. But what I want you guys to take away today as we discuss the events that led to Jesus' arrest in the Garden of Gethsemane, because you think about it, today is Good Friday. And this would have happened historically last night on Thursday when they arrested Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. There's so many places that we can go with this verse, but I want to the Dr. Luke, as I like to call him, in the book of Luke, is going to give us a incredible description of the night they arrested God and some things that happened. And I could talk about this for all day, but we're just going to take a few minutes here to look. And I want you to take your Bible, if you got your Bible with you today. I want you to go to Luke chapter 22, and we're going to be in verse 42. Now, this is a prayer, to give you some backdrop here. This is a prayer that Jesus Christ has made in the Garden of Gethsemane. He's coming from the upper room. He's walked up, and a lot of times you recall Jesus liked to go to the garden to pray. Now, when he says, and this is all in red letters in your Bible, so check this out. Father, it is if it is your will, take this cup away from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done. Now, guys, that is so incredible because you see, as you see there in the picture, uh, Luke is giving us this description of the weight that is on Jesus' shoulders. And guys, many times we don't realize the all the incredible events that happened between Palm Sunday and Resurrection Sunday and Easter. I mean, there's everything from that's when Jesus he made his entrance into he's made his entrance into Israel and Jerusalem to the holy city on Palm Sunday. He the next day he would tear up the temple. You would also have the Last Supper. You had the betrayal of Judas. You also had the betrayal of Peter. You had the trial of Pontius Pilate. The whole horrific things that happened to Jesus when he walked up the Via Dolorosa Road, the death, the burial, the tomb, and the resurrection. All these things happen in 7 days, and there's a whole lot of things that we can glean on. But one of the things I want to focus on is the night that they arrested Jesus. Now, I say this because we all know, I say the night they arrested God because I hate to tell you this, but Jesus is God. Can I get a witness in the comment section? He is indeed. And Jesus knew from the time that he would be arrested in the next 18 hours would be brutal. Look what he says here, though. Look what he says here. And I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to look what he says here. He says, take this cup. Now, why would Jesus say that to God in a prayer when he knows it's going to happen and he is God? Take this costly cup. Because here's the thing, guys. Jesus is the Son of God, and he knew full well that he would be resurrected from the dead. And he wasn't afraid of all the horrible pain that he was going to go through. But I think what the agony was about, and this is just Scott Patton's personal opinion, is the sin that would temporarily fall on him for all of humanity. Now, think about this. Think about this in time and space. It's like the lost person or somebody in hell. He's gonna have that just in his human body at the time. He's gonna have that horrible reality and that excruciating pain of the weight of the world's sin coming on him. Because why? Because he was sinless. He was, and when he says drinking that last offered cup, man, guys, it's a solemn experience here. The cup to which Jesus refers to is the suffering. The cup is suffering, like this cup. Okay. And it's used also in Matthew 20:22 when Jesus portends of the future suffering of when he's talking to James and John. You can see that, and you can look at it in your own Bible, Matthew 20. But Jesus also is petitions the Father, let this cup pass from me. He expresses the natural human desire because he is God, but he was fully man. But when he was man, he was fully God. And this is what is so hard for just common people like us to realize. Jesus is fully God, but he's also fully human in human nature. Though he's perfect, he still struggled with that horrible reality. He still felt pain and the cruelty that he would see and the humiliation that awaited him. He knew it was coming. But notice what he says at the end of the verse here. And this is what I think is so cool. Not my will, but yours. Oh, man. That could be a whole podcast in itself. I know I've preached on that numerous times. This is so important in your Christian life right here. Not my will, but yours. Man, I'll tell you what, guys. I don't know about y'all, but man, Scott loves his will. Man, I love my will. But are we following God's will? That's the question. When you read other accounts of the gospel, Jesus prayed this prayer 3 times to take up this cup. And by the way, disciples on this earth, we need to pray for God's will all the time. But it's amazing how lonely probably Jesus felt also when he's making that prayer of your will, not mine. He asked James, Peter, and John to kind of keep out watch for him because he knew that he was going to be arrested any time. And what they do, they fell asleep. Yeah, and remember, this was Peter, James, and John, the same people that were at the transfiguration. Okay, Jesus is lonely. Yeah, he's hurt. He's feeling the burdens of this cup. But what an incredible example Jesus gives us. Man, it's hard. It's hard to do God's will sometimes, and especially in our lives today. But every time that you're forced to do God's will, when you think in your mind, I want you to think about when Jesus gave up that last offer cup. Now, the last question I want to explore in this, and it's what the title, when we kind of hinted at it, the title of the podcast. Why did Jesus select a garden to get arrested? So the night they arrest God, they arrested him in a garden. Here's my thoughts. The symbol of a garden is, I think it's a symbol of the garden. Everything that Jesus did was strategic. He was, of course, the greatest strategic thinker of all time. But Jesus left the upper room and he went to the Garden of Gethsemane. And like I mentioned previously, he took Peter, James, and John with him. Now, it's fascinating because he took the same 3 to the Transfiguration, but in what he's showing us here a strategic moment where he's going to show the whole world, I'm going to get arrested in the garden. Why would he choose that, though? And why would he bring, like he was going to the Mount of Transfiguration, why would he do that? Well, here's my thoughts. Human history begins in where? A garden. Yeah. That's where Genesis 2, and that's where God created Adam, and then it's when he took Adam's rib and he created Eve. But here's the other thing. And we don't know how long that Adam and Eve lived in that garden. Some theologians think that might have been hundreds or even thousands of years. Okay, it wasn't just for a day or two. They lived in quiet harmony in the perfect, beautiful Garden of Eden. Okay. But here's the thing. The other thing about the garden is also where human sin began with Adam and Eve. Yes, in Genesis chapter 3. And see, for those of us who are redeemed and saved by his grace, we will celebrate someday in the garden city, the tree of life. Where do you find that? Well, it will bear 12 fruits, and we will reside there. Revelation chapter 22, verse 2. Now, the geographical location of the Garden of Gethsemane, I'll just tell you guys, it's not so much geographical, but it's spiritual significance. And this is where Jesus accepted that last offered cup from his Father's hand in the garden. Brothers and sisters, I want you to have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Easter weekend. And remember, Remember that last offer cup as you go in your house of worship on Sunday. God bless you, friends. And that is a bold word from a bold book. God bless you, friends, and go bold.